I get hit up pretty often about people who are looking to get into TIG welding art. As an artist myself, I'm gonna drop some information about how to get started with this, hopefully save you some time. All right, here's an awesome topic. I can definitely help you get started with this one. I wanted to get into welding art so badly, but there's definitely a few things that I wish I knew before I started. So if you're looking to get started with this yourself, this episode's for you. Have you seen some TIG welding artwork or some welding artwork online and it's got you itching to start? Good. I am genuinely stoked for you. For myself personally, TIG welding or welding art is something that I genuinely wish I knew was an option when I started TIG welding. I loved welding so much when I started. But after I welded for quite a while, admittedly, I kind of started to get bored with it. I always loved art, sculpture, all kinds of cool stuff like that. So in the beginning, if I had known that there was an option to do art with my welding, I probably would have been more stoked to learn sooner than I did. I've been doing TIG welding and welding art for about a handful of years now, but I've actually been doing art of different kinds for over 30 years now. Ever since I was a little kid, I always wanted to do art of some kind. And when I figured out finally that I could actually do it with my welding skill, it was a massive paradigm shift for me. I hear from people pretty regularly who are looking to get started with this subject. A lot of them tend to get stuck on the same things. So right here, I'm going to recommend that they probably approach things differently. As far as gear goes, I get hit up really often with people asking what kind of gear they need in order to get into TIG welding art. Now, I am lucky enough to have some pretty amazing gear nowadays. I've been hooked up with Everlast, absolutely dope machines. I've got some Weld stuff. I use Edge welding cups, those are awesome. And probably the newest addition to my setup is Defiant metal welding gloves. These allow me to do my job as nicely as I can with the best precision possible. But honestly, most people can get started with making welding art with the most minimal, basic setups that they can get. Honestly, all you need is something to run clean gas and decent, clean tungstens. As long as your material and your filler material is clean and you can run clean lines on a piece of practice plate, you're off to the races. So this leads me to my next topic. Can you run clean and perfect lines? A lot of the time, people send me photos of work that they have done that are actually pretty cool, but I definitely see some things that are gonna help them out, and it's on a really fundamental welding level. I teach these things to my students all the time, and some of these things are heat control and getting the best finish that you can. If you were about to run some test passes on a piece of scrap plate, would it come out as clean, shiny, colored the way you want as you would on an actual art piece? If your passes look overheated and oxidized, this is obviously going to be a problem when you set up for a full art piece. It doesn't matter what kind of fancy gear you have for a setup, it will not stop you from overheating base material in any situation. Get dialed, run some clean passes on scrap plate before you even touch an art piece. This thing here is probably one of the most important things that I recommend for people who want to get into TIG welding art, and that is pick an appropriate design. Don't start out with anything ambitious. This is something that I see very often with people when they start out with this, and I hate seeing people not have the best go at their first try, getting turned off of art, and not trying it again. Somebody commonly will get excited about something, pick a pretty tricky design, and then when they try it, doesn't go that well. I hear from multiple people who say that they've tried it once, gave it a whirl, never tried it again. Start out with the simple stuff. One of the most difficult things that I've had to learn how to do over the years is to learn to do all of my passes on an art piece in a proper order. Look at some of these photos here. When you're running a pass next to another pass, this heat affects the ones next to it. You can lose color. You can oxidize stuff that you've already finished and done perfectly, but because I didn't learn how to plan the order of my passes properly, this is why I recommend starting out on something simple. One of the best things for somebody to learn how to learn on, in my opinion, is logos. It could be a favorite sports team, something that has a good variety of shape, not a lot of lines that intersect or run too close to one another. This is gonna minimize the amount of heat input that you will add to work that you've already done on your piece. Trust me, when I put 20+ hours into welding on a piece like this, you can bet that everything I do is planned well ahead of time. Check out this episode right here. This is one of the most difficult ones that I've done, and I actually had to get it done on time for a customer. So when doing this project, time was of the essence. And what I mean by this, when I did this piece, absolutely zero mistakes were allowed. Give some good thought to this tip before you actually go into the shop to work on an art piece. Stainless steel plate is really expensive. Plan ahead, keep it simple, and save yourself a few sheets of material and a few bucks. For sure, one of the most important details to learn when you're working on stainless steel is how to properly read your heat affected zone. This second episode here is all about this subject. If you really want to learn how to dial in and read your heat affected zone when welding on stainless steel, check this episode out. This is genuinely something I put out to help people out with because I wish I learned this a lot sooner. Making art with my TIG welding has been a big shift for me over the years. I actually really needed it to come along because honestly, I was actually starting to lose my passion for welding. I had been doing production welding with TIG welding for almost 20 years, doing the same thing a lot, starting to get bored with it. So when I learned how to apply my skills of TIG welding into an art realm, everything changed. Not only has doing art completely given me the love for welding back that I had when I first started to learn the trade, but after doing so, I've actually learned even more about this trade, even though I'd been doing it for almost 20 years in a production setting. It's a way that I can genuinely challenge myself and learn new things. And this is one of the most lessons I've learned in life. Always be a student. And of course, always keep things fun and exciting. Let me know if you're working on any art. Hit me up on my website. Let me know in the comments below. Send me what you're working on. I want to see more people do this. It's too fun not to get into. Even if it's just something to make something funny for your kids or a coworker or a friend or anything, I want to see more people do this. Go out today, do a random act of kindness for a stranger. If you're an arc head who watches the show every week, leave a dime in the comments below. For Pacific Arc TIG Welding, my name is Dusty. Phil and Chill, we'll talk soon. Peace.